We are happy to welcome the next speaker of the day. She's a mentor, influencer, author, researcher, lending her expertise for Indian personal data protection bill, data governance framework, the Bureau of Indian Standards, Security and Privacy Framework. With over 18 years of experience, she was handpicked from becoming the first application security lead for SAP Labs India. She is also the Director of Security and Data Privacy at SAP Labs India. She is the founder of Women in Cybersecurity and Privacy, a community body that promotes women in security and privacy. During 2020, they reached thousands of citizens and students spanning across states of India on cyber hygiene. As the German philosopher Karl Jasper has said, we must discover truth with ourselves, but always in communication with others. Sailaja is on a noble journey of spreading awareness about technology advancements, especially in cybersecurity. She will be presenting the topic Emerging Cybercrimes, Intelligent Forensics Transformation. Let us welcome Ms. Sailaja Vadlamudi. Over to you, Ms. Sailaja.
Thank you, Sumi. I think you all are able to see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Yes. So thank you, and also, it's pleasure joining the Rocheston Reinvent Conference 2021. For me, it's like coming back home and presenting my thoughts and shares on this platform. And also, warm welcome from my side to those of you who are joining us today. And also, I would like to bring in my knowledge and expertise on this emerging cybercrimes, which is also one of the biggest and the loudest problem statement or hitting the headlines every day is what I could say. Before getting into the topic for today, I would like to also, talk about a disclaimer about whatever thoughts, views, opinions, and whatever discussions are going to happen today, or the kind of information is being shared from my side, has nothing to do with my employers or the advisories that I am part of or the organizations I am associated with. This is purely coming in from the knowledge and the expertise I have gained in my journey so far. Yeah. So, and then let's quickly, have a quick peek into what is happening around us, right? As I mentioned towards the beginning, now it's not irony to say all these cyber attacks are hitting the headlines of the newspapers. At least way back when I started my career in cybersecurity, right? This was not the case because there was not a huge digitization that happened. Still, many offices and organizations are working on papers. And now with the COVID, it also accelerated the digitization, we have to say, and there are many more challenges that is bringing down to the table because I definitely understand and we all definitely witness many companies, many large organizations are not prepared for this. And recently, Air India is also in the news, and we all heard the data has been compromised. It's a huge data. And for sure, there was also a lot of analysis done by so many researchers, so many experts in the market telling it's not directly coming in from Air India, but all the airlines data is with a company called Sita, and then there are a lot of reasons around it because it has become the cyber victim. So naturally, as all these guys are also storing their information over there, it has undergone this. It has to undergo this huge data privacy breach or whatever. And lately, a couple of weeks or months ago, there was this colonial pipeline. I'm not sure how many of you have followed this news, but this really made a lot of noise in the market. In the sense, this gas pipeline has been attacked, and this is a huge pipeline coming in from one state to the other state. If you see the map, you could find out there. And there's an attack that happened on this, and because of which there was a disruption in the amount of material that is being sent on this pipeline. And at the same time, as we all know, in many other countries or even in India, everything depends on this. Even the transportation system, everything depends on the gas, and there's a huge hike in the gas prices, and there was a lot of chaos that happened inside or within the country. And to our surprise, right, these colonial pipelines, what they did, because this entire thing has gone under ransom, somebody has locked their machines, and they have to pay, unfortunately, they ended up paying some ransom. so that they have to really ensure this gas is going on and there was no disruption to day-to-day activities of the citizens, right? And also, this is something which is happening in India, which is also making a lot of noise and also political attention. I have to say, Pegasus talking about the spyware on the mobile devices, where it is being spying all big industrial giants versus politicians versus oppositions, and also if we see the current situation in front of us, right, we all also are witnessing for sure. This is not in the previous cases, for example, yes, it is impacting the citizens, their data is being compromised, and it is impacting their day-to-day activities because gas is not supplied. There was an attack. In this case, this is also kind of creating a lot of political tensions between the parties, right? People are also trying to blame the governing ministers and all of that. And and then they were also talking about so many potential people who are influential in the country on the opposition sides are being spied and so on and so forth. What I am trying to draw this, from all these three of them is it sometimes the news and the noise is going beyond the technology, beyond interrupting one service or the other service, but it is going above all and above into the sky and the air and creating political unrest into the situations, right? And in all the three scenarios, something is really common, yeah. What is that is we have to understand the root cause for all of this. Like people can blame anybody, telling there is someone who is spying, someone who bought the software, someone who installed it, or there is some in the previous case we understood there's a ransom wherein this poor company also ended up paying huge amount of money, right? And in all of this case, one thing that is holding in the backstring is nothing but the digital forensics, right? And that is nothing but the science of understanding or identifying the evidence to understand what happened and who is the one behind it and what is the root cause analysis of it. And sometimes the situation is people will think, yes, I paid the ransom and then my systems are free, I'll be able to go and access the machines, but you don't know whether this guy is still lying inside of your organization and still spying on us. So there'll be a lot of consequences immediately after this. We can't take a deep breath and say like, yes, I'm done, my ransom is paid, my systems are up and running, there is no disruption to my customers or to my partners or to my consumers, whatever, so on and so forth. So the digital forensics is the key area, which is also getting into the roots of all of this. That is normally if people ask me what is digital forensics, right, I always tell them it's a combination of arts and science, yeah, because people also have to understand the big picture behind this, and it is also about science of identifying the evidence, the right evidence. And as we all see, if from starting from 2016 to 2020, the amount of attacks that are happening is going higher and higher, and sometimes it's moving exponentially, right? Be it the personal data breach, identity theft, payment deliveries, phishing, and then people falling prey for social engineering. Like these days, I get to hear a lot of people from the villages, they get a call from the bank stating, your pension money is not debited still because there's something happening in the bank, and would you be able to share your OTP or something? So there's so many things happening because, as I said, we are not prepared for this destination. All of us are pushed. For example, it is not irony to say even the small vegetable vendor at the end of our street, he or she will be comfortable if we say I am paying instead of giving money, if I am just doing it via Google Pay, Amazon Pay, or something or the other, right? So that's the kind of huge digital movement that we are living in. And on the other side, more than all of us, the hackers are also really happy about, they have a lot of field to play now because people are unprepared, and even the companies are unprepared to some extent to this huge volume of people moving into the digital platforms. Yeah, and then on the other side, what is happening, because social media has become parcel of our life, right? So on an average, human creates a lot of data per second in 2020, and I think with more and more people getting connected on the digital platforms using a mobile device, using an laptop or a desktop or whatever it is, the footprint is going higher and higher, and these are some of the changes that we use at least day in and day out, right? I think Now I also keep telling people, at least in our generation, right, we all used to read books, we all used to reach out to our seniors or our professors or our teachers to get some or to gain some information, or used to go and sit in the library. But this generation is Google generation, right? They just go and check in the Google. Even my kids, even for the small homework assignments, they just go and check on the Google, what is this all about? So this is not the this is no kind of a surprise to me to see the amount of data that is generated on Google. At the same time, this Twitter and Facebook, and we also witnessed some of the big politicians or the leaders have to be removed from the Twitter because they are also impacting much more than they were supposed to do as part of the life or as part of the country's atmosphere and what should I say, the political tensions and so on and so forth. So all these platforms are generating so much of data, huge amounts of data, right? And when I say if something goes wrong on these platforms, do you think is it human to understand what went wrong, where it went wrong, who is the person behind it? I don't think so, right? Because the amount of data that is getting generated is going on and on. It's not like, okay, we all can say now we are in the edge of digitization, so the amount of data generating is going on. But I think this is going to be higher and higher as we move forward, right? And at the same time, when you see the highlights, like what is this kind of people using this mobile devices, and how much of internet, how many internet users are there around the world. And recently I also underwent one of the innovation where people are also trying to help this digital divide, like so many of them not able to access this internet because they don't have an internet, they don't have internet connections in those areas. So many huge innovations are coming up. Yeah, having said that, even with the current existing ecosystem of internet access to the people, this is the amount of data, or this is the stats that we have in front of us. And on the irony, for sure our mobile phone contains so much more data than we expected anytime, and then it contains everything, like and then every day in and day out we download so many n number of apps for grocery, for medicine, for shopping, for food, and the list goes on and on, right? And from all the transactions that we are going to do or perform on this mobile devices, right? Lately I was also talking to somebody and they said they just went and checked on their mobile phone about one of the service center. And when they call, because generally when you just click on your phone and then you just see this is the service center name, it was not the real one, it was a fake service center, they just put it up as on the company name. So there were a lot of issues happening on. So not all the transactions, not all the links that we see on the internet are real, and they are all fraudulent. And at the same time, so many apps. And when we were all undergoing the second phase of pandemic, right, there were a lot of apps that have come up to check the blood pressure, to come up to check this oxygen levels. And to my surprise, when people and the way how to act, how you're going to access and get the result of those is you just have to give your thumbprint or your fingerprint onto that. And it's no rocket science when you're giving your thumbprint. This is also part of our Aadhaar and many other systems. So they're already collecting our very sensitive personal digital identity, I have to say, which even though this is our physical identity, this is converted into digital identity, and people are using it. And on the other side, irrespective of the age, we all are forced to sit inside our houses. So this any house you go, people are hooked to their devices or their screens or whatever, and all age groups are too much into this gaming, right? Everybody wants to play a game, everybody wants to have some kind of entertainment on their devices and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of malicious things that are happening, and there are so many categories of malicious activities that are happening on the mobile device. And when I said this entire forensics is all about collecting the evidence, just imagine in the previous slide I mentioned the amount of data that is being generated every day in and day out at a wide variety of platforms, versus these are the challenges over here. And how are we going to tackle this with all the things that are going to pop up day in and day out for all of us? Yeah. So as I said, data is all over the world, and data all over. And then data has also become the new gold or the new fuel. It's not an irony to say. And on the other side, when we look from the technology perspective, right, cloud data storage is also going on and on because of the ease of usage and ease of the financial aspects in and around the cloud. Many companies are moving into the cloud, and they are also using the cloud storage. And the expectation is it might reach 200 plus gigabytes by 2025. And on the other side, we have machines that are generating a lot of data accounted. Like nowadays, whatever website you just log in, they say hi, hello, and then they just talk to you, and they try to give you the basic minimal information that is required. These small tiny bots and so many things that are floating around. And this is to our knowledge and this is to our notice, but there are so many other small machines and small creepers and spiders traveling around the internet, and they're also generating good amount of data. And they're also generating 40% of the internet data in 2020 alone. And the big drive in front of us is industrial of IoT, internet of things, or internet of everything is what we have to say. And now it has also become the fashion or the status, I have to say, not only just in India, anywhere, telling I have a smart home, I have a smart TV, I have a smart refrigerator, I have a smart oven, so on and so forth. When all these devices are talking to each other, for sure they're also connected on the internet, right? And one is this commercial aspect of it, and one is the industrial aspect of IoT. On the other side, we have large number of IoT devices that are collecting and generating so much of data. And there are a lot of statistics talking about there will be a huge jump in the number of devices that will be connected on the internet and the cloud. Industrial huge machines will be connected, and also the smart cities is also on the good range. And even every city is also competing or working towards becoming a smart city. When we say IoT is the technology behind it, IoT is the fundamental foundation for all of that, and there will be so many devices connected. In the context of data, the more number of devices that are connected, they will be exchanging data among them, and they'll be talking to each other, and then there'll be huge amount of data revolution that is going to happen. Yeah, and as I mentioned, for the forensics, right, evidence is the key in all the crimes. We have to understand, we have to find the evidence, that is for sure. At the same time, even in the cyber crimes, right, because of the very nature of them, we will not be able to find all the physical evidences, or they will not be of much help. But digital evidences is the key ingredient in order to chase, or in order to understand the root cause analysis, to perform the investigation, and to provide or and get a remedy for all of these cyber crimes. Yeah. And here you all can ask me, okay, fine, when you say evidence, when you say we have to have a trace of evidence that is required, so that we will be able to understand, or we will be able to resolve the cyber crime, or we will be able to get into a conclusion about what is the root cause and who is the one behind it, and what all tools are being used, what all is being compromised on the particular machine. As I said, not necessarily we think like they have picked up this data, but maybe their presence is much larger than we expect inside our company, or inside our system, or inside our organization, right? So the evidences can be found in so many places. They are in emails, photographs, ATM transaction logs, and it goes on and on. And recently I also was attending one of the lectures, and there was a crime that happened in Bangalore. There was a murder that happened, and there were some suspects that have identified, and they were all under investigation. And this particular murder, how it happened, the dead body of this particular one who died was found in one of the deepest lakes in Bangalore. And in one of the suspects' machine, when they just seized all the machines of those suspects as well, to my surprise, when one of the forensics expert, when he started getting all the evidences from all the machines of all the suspects, in one of the machine they found out that browsing history, and in the browsing history they says the deepest lake in Bangalore. Yeah. And the dead body of this person was also found in the same lake. You see the connection here. So evidence, the digital evidence can be found in many. This is just a highlight of some of the list I have given, but it can be found in so many places inside the device that is involved in performing this particular crime. And so the importance of digital evidence is really immense in terms of identifying and moving towards the digital forensics. Yeah. And if I, since we are talking about the digital forensics, right? This is the life cycle, like starting from identifying, like what all went here, the preserving, and then trying to extract. For example, as I said, there will be in the digital space, there will be so many devices. Sometimes it can be mobile device, sometimes it can be laptop, sometimes it can be network. In the context of cloud computing, it can be a virtual machine, so on and so forth. And once you collect all this information, I think now I don't have to explain you how much of information that you receive. There's huge loads of information that we're going to get, because it is not possible to get only one specific amount of data. Normally we dump as much of data as possible, and then we have to perform the analysis of all the data that is being collected, and then we document, and then in the end we also have to ensure we present this in the law of court, and the evidence also has to be admissible, and so on and so forth. So this is the entire life cycle of the digital forensics, about how we are identifying the evidence, what are the ways and means, how many devices are involved. And sometimes I also understood when people reach out to that location where the crime happens, right? They also pick all small, tiny USB ports and many other devices that are in and around that particular space. It can be a CD drive, it can be a DVD, and then it can be a small post-it as well. Yeah, so they just try to pick all the information around, and then they do that. And when I say, like, the life cycle of digital forensics, and in that we also have to understand what is the most valuable information for cyber criminals, what, why are they trying to get into this business, and what is the biggest threat to the organization. On the other hand, for sure they wanted financial information. That's a rocket science. And we also witness a lot of attacks are happening in e-banking and many others, which is pertaining to all these financial transactions. And sometimes when you talk about the organization level, right, it can be also about the strategy, where they're going to go ahead, intellectual property, and then their supplier information, because this is all really important and also a great asset for the organizations. And the type of cyber threats the organizations are also witnessing is, it's phishing, it can be malware just trying to install a ransomware, spam, and internal attacks, or disgruntled employees, and espionage, so on and so forth. Yeah. And on the other hand, we all know, like, there is a huge amount of traction, or there is a huge amount of importance given to the information that is there inside the organization. On the other hand, technology is also advancing, right? For example, if I just have to go to a location, or if I just have to pick a laptop or a mobile phone and try to collect all the evidence as part of the digital forensics, it is really going to be, to some extent, it's going to be easy, not so tough. But then when I'm talking about this IoT, cloud computing, and many other artificial intelligence and quantum computing, so many more following us, how challenging it is going to be, and the amount of data that is being generated and all of that, and also the amount of storage that is being consumed, or that is being available on the cloud computing, and the very nature, like, not necessarily all the data is existing over here. Data can be here, data can be there, data can definitely be all over the place. So these are and this is also going to be little challenging. So as I said, data is the gold mine, and digging deeper and deeper will only be able to help us to understand, or to get the right evidence that is relevant for the particular specific malware attack or anything that happened inside the organization, right? And as I said, the other challenging thing is the volumes of data, and again the diversified landscapes. It can be mobile, it can be network, it can be cloud, it can be anything else, right? And at the same time, one of the other aspect is, unfortunately, all the procedures and methods are not standardized across all locations. Say, for example, in the context of cloud computing, if data is available somewhere else, then we have to follow the forensics procedure that is accepted and by the legal authorities in India. Not necessarily they have a similar law that is accepted in the other countries, and so on and so forth. And at the same time, skill set is also really challenging. As I said, yes, you definitely have a lot of data available. You have a lot of tools available. You have a lot of technology available. But then you also need to have the skills, that is, which is art and science, for example. Yeah, because normally once you collect all the information, right? Say for example, you have collected information from a mobile device or from a laptop, and you have collected all the information from the disk. Normally people say you are not supposed to work on the original disk that you're going to submit it in the code, because once you are going to change any data, right, when they compare the original data versus the data that is collected, it has to be admissible in the code. So you also have to know the norms of the procedures, what to do, what not to do, the skill set. And again, with the advent of this technology, and then people also have to understand how to deal, how to create or how to collect all the evidences in the scenario of IoT. Or for example, if you talk about Apple machines, right, we can't immediately unplug the hard disk, or we can't unplug the memory, and so on and so forth. So how is that you have to really collect all the information from such devices? Because as I said, with the amount of technology, and even and at the same time, if the mobile device is really old, it's not like available, that particular software is not in use now, do we still have the tools available? Do we have the people available who knows how to extract data from really old devices? Because so these are also the challenges that we have ahead of us or in front of us. And if I have to talk about the challenges in digital forensics, right, as I said, large volumes of data for sure, legitimate issues, privacy violations, because day in and day out, I think India is also going to come up with the privacy law. Even though this particular device or this particular photograph or this particular medium will have the right evidence for us to in order to move forward with the case, maybe we will not be able to do so. Or a simple thing, say for example, someone seized a mobile device and it has a pattern lock, and even in the Indian law you cannot force somebody to unlock the device for you. Yeah, so this is also one of the challenge, and this is going to be more go moving forward, because each and every country is going to have their own privacy rules, and each and every country is going to have their own privacy norms, and this is also going to add to the pain of whatever it is. And having said these huge amounts and gigabytes and terabytes of data in different technologies in different streams, how is that AI can artificial intelligence, can help us in terms of digital forensics? And for sure, there's no doubt, like with the advent of this technology, the amount of data that you're going to load to your algorithms and the way how you're going to design all of this, it is definitely going to help us to detect and suspect the criminal activities, because not all the time data is so structured. Data can be in different formats. As I said, the amount of uh, devices or the amount of locations where you find digital evidence itself is very diverse, and from there you will not have same amount of data or the same structured data that you get to sit and do analysis on digital forensics. For sure, in that case, AI technologies can definitely be used. And one of the, because since I'm coming in from the technology domain, right, I also have to talk about the misconfiguration of the systems. In the cloud, we have heard, some of the examples is what I have listed here. They all have made really enough of noise about, the data is being compromised, the data is being leaked, and there are some misconfigurations that happen on the system due to the very nature and the virtuality and the amount of data storage and the sharing process that happens on this cloud, right? There are a lot many challenges, lot many noises that are made. And in such cases, right, for example, if data gets leaked, you also have to understand the root cause analysis. You also have to use your own forensics tools and the offerings on the platform. And how is AI is definitely trying to help? Yeah, this is one of the tool that I found, PDIFF. It's a practical tool for monitoring the access control behavior. And then it says, if there is a change in any of the access behaviors, then it is going to inform, or it's going to do an alarm, talking about, it will monitor all the change behaviors caused by any malicious access. At the same time, if somebody is trying to do something, or if some malicious activity is going to happen, for sure it is going to interfere, and then it is going to inform us when you use this particular tool for access control validations. Because in the cloud, this is really really important, like you have your own zones defined, and your other competitor or someone is not accessing the data that you put on your virtual machines in the cloud setup. And with using this tool, people also found out it has detected 86% to 100% of the rule changes in case if there is any changes, and 89% for shifting the validations. Yeah. So this is really this PDF can pinpoint the root cause shift, and that makes target access for forensics examinations and so on and so forth. Because the biggest challenge in all of these kind of technologies is if something goes wrong, how are you going to really examine this? How are you going to capture all the evidences that are required to understand what happened with this particular access controls, or who, what amount of data is being compromised, how much of data is being leaked, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And then data is the gold mine, and data is also a huge mine. And it's not irony to say, with the amount of data that is generated in all of this, right, it's just like trying to find a needle in the haystack. And in the huge amount of data that we're going to dump from any kind of scenario, right, trying to identify the right suspicious file is going to be really challenging. But automated digital forensics and data processing techniques are really, trying to help and prioritize the investigation file artifacts. With that, we don't have to sit for days and days together using all of these technologies, and then the data can be really put into the analysis mode. As I said, in the entire process of digital forensics, we also do the analysis, we also extract and perform analysis and offer the reporting in the end. In that, it is really important to understand from this huge amount of data that is being bumped, what is the right data that I have to really look into it. And coming into Internet of Things, with the very nature of this Internet of Things, right, there are a lot of methodologies again used in this machine learning and artificial intelligence. But deep learning for tracing and discovering the threat behaviors is something which is widely used, which is also helping the organizations. Because even in here, a common application in deep learning is to understand and to attack the identification in the internet traffic. Because in this scenario of Internet of Things, the data is heavily moving from several set of devices on the network. The traffic is huge, carrying all kind of sensitive and then critical confidential amounts of data. So deep learning techniques are really used. So actually, PDF is like nothing but a practical deep framework that is used for discovering cyber attacks and tracing the stuff that is in the IoT. Because if something goes wrong, people are also using all of these frameworks that are coming out of AI and machine learning methodologies in case of probing attacks, in case of information theft, and so on and so forth. Because sometimes, as I said, when there is because Internet of Things also have cloud computing, everything is clubbed into that. And if, as I said, there is an malicious user that is having access to our virtual machine or something, there should be some alarm that is giving you a hint telling, hey, some rules are being changed, some malicious activity has been done, or some information is being theft or gone out of the systems, or so on and so forth. Yeah. And so far, I'm talking about from the technology front, what is happening. I just took some examples on that. Now, if we look into the general day-to-day cyber crimes, which is impacting our nation, which is impacting us as a citizen, which is impacting us as an individual, right? There is a lot of cyber warfare that is happening. Because I keep telling this example every now and then. When there were, these days, when there were tensions between the countries, right? Of course, they're also having a lot of fights in the physical mode, but we see a lot of dynamics change in the cyberspace as well. There are a lot of attacks coming in from the neighboring countries to us. We also witnessed this during the first phase of pandemic, when India and China are undergoing tensions. There was a 200% rise in the amount of attacks that is coming in from from China to us. Yeah, and cyber espionage and child pornography, and the list goes on and on. And for sure, with respect to the organizations will be able to spend a lot of money, and they will have a lot of technologies, AI, machine learning, and so on and so forth for these activities, right? What are the, because if legal enforcement authorities have to perform the cybercrime detection techniques, for sure they are also reaching towards this, using this technology advancements like machine learning and artificial intelligence, so that their life will be really easy, right? Because all these crimes happens on a huge social media platforms like Twitter, Insta, Facebook, and so on and so forth. So there are some of the methods that I am listed down here. These are the techniques which can be used: machine learning techniques, neural networks, or fuzzy logic, data mining, or statistical based techniques, and so on and so forth. All these methods are really use. Some of the states are already implementing all of this in order to understand what is happening. And there are a lot of research that is done using this techniques, what about, be it a neural network, be it deep learning, be it fuzzy logic and all of that. And they have created the data set sources, and they have given the tasks to this particular systems, and they were able to find out the accuracy. If you see the accuracy model, right, in case of Twitter it is 94%, and in case of BBC and Twitter and many other, Wikipedia and many other models, right? Because with the vast amount of data that is being spread across, now we say cyberbullying is a crime, now we say child pornography is a crime, but how is it really easy to understand what is happening, who posted such kind of information? Lately also I read one of the information where one couple in Chennai started uploading a lot of cyber, a lot of data. Obscene content is being uploaded. Immediately the legal enforcement authorities, the police guys, they just were able to delete all the videos. I think it's close to more than 40 videos, if I remember it right. Do you think it's really human, possible with our human brain to understand what is happening in the space, the cyber space, like Chennai as a city is a kind of responsible for? I don't think so. For sure we all are using this deep learning techniques, or artificial intelligence and AI into everything we do. Yeah, and these are the cybercrime detection techniques used by using this machine learning, right? And as we know, right, the amount of cybercrimes are also different. It can be cyberbullying, it can be attacking, it can be a phishing email, it can be detecting the cybercrime patterns and so on and so forth. When all this amount is being given, right, as a task which is assigned, and then we also for sure from the context of machine learning and artificial intelligence, we have to give lot of data sources, we have to provide lot of information. I think information is all over the place. Data is not a problem to us. The more amount of data we feed into all of these algorithms, into these techniques, right, the best results that we are going to get. And the impact is also going to be higher, because some crimes are really very tricky. You don't have time to immediately react, or you don't have so much of time to really think about or see like someone else is going to take care and all of that. In that case, AI and ML is going to be used as a masterpiece to just go ahead and help. It's going to be a tool very handy for them to implement all these techniques, so that to attack, to detect, and also to immediately take down the immediate content or take necessary action, and so on and so forth. Many of you can think why cyberbullying is put as in many cases, in many things, because I'm not sure if all of you have observed this when people are talking about the physical health, right, mental health is also impacted in many ways during this pandemic, or during the course of life that we are undergoing through. And cyberbullying is playing a very critical impact on the people, because since I also work from a non-profit with the law enforcement authorities, right, when I'm working with one of the governments, there were a lot of use cases where this young girls, when people started, when they became the victims of this cyberbullying, they lost a lot of interest. They're not scoring well. They came to an urge of committing suicide. Yeah, and fortunately, they have reached out to help to the cyber cells, and then they were able to counsel them. They were also able to identify the root cause, and they were able to contain it to some extent. So these all are really important, and only when people undergo that pain, and when people undergo that, then we will understand, oh, there's a lot of things that is happening in and around us. Yeah, and yes, for sure, cyber crimes and law enforcement, there are a lot of things that is happening around us. But even here, we have to reach to a place. If you ask me as a technologist, right, if you ask me as a cybersecurity expert, if you ask me, however we are following inside the organizations, right, I also try to detect, prevent, and also predict. The similar approach we also have to reach in when it comes to this crimes and law enforcement authorities, into our day-to-day activities, or into our day-to-day crime scenarios that we are undergoing, or that we are witnessing in front of our eyes. So using this AI and ML techniques, right, we are already reaching there. I don't see like we are march fasting it. Yes, we are coming step by step to that. So cybercrime detection is in the real time from traditional security cameras. Now I said there are so many cities moving towards becoming smart cities, right? when we say there are a lot of smart cities, you have a lot of cameras installed, you have a lot of smart lamps installed, where people can also see what is happening around, and they can also detect what happened in that specific area whenever there is a crime that happens, even the physical crime. And also the prevention, right? Depending on the behaviors, I think I read in China, when there are a lot of cameras installed are all around the place, and depending on the facial expressions of the person also, they can identify if a crime is going to happen in that specific place, because most of the times they will be able to identify using the facial recognition techniques and so on and so forth. Then immediately they will be also able to prevent that. And at the same time, predicting, predicting is also going to be very key important aspect in this. As I said, yeah, we also have to understand detection is very important, and we have these tools available. Prevention is good, but then predicting is the best, I have to say, because what is going to come in future? For example, we know normally in the organization setup, what happens whenever there is a ransomware, the rest all the teams will be alerted, all the operations teams will be alerted to check in their network if something similar is available, or any traces of that particular event or incident are available. They will try to sniff and surf, understand all of that. Similarly, trying to predict and stop the cyber crimes is really going to be the future. And I believe with the advancement of the technologies on the other end, especially in India, there are a lot of startups that are coming up, who are working hand in hand with the government. And government is also investing into a lot of research, collaborating with IITs and many others. So we are not far away from predicting who will be able to commit the crime, be it on a digital space, be it on a physical space, and then trying to also predict the crime spot. If this is in case of physical crimes, right? That's going to be the best of combination of technology and legal and law enforcement authorities working hand in hand, and we will have a really promising future, is what I have to say. Yeah, and then since I have touch based on this judicial systems, right? I also have to say now Supreme Court is also trying to use this artificial intelligence for better judicial system. As we all know, people also tell us from time to time, right? There are a lot of cases that are pending, and there's no point going to the court and so on and so forth. But very soon we will have this AI, involving into this judicial systems, and the cases are going to be settled as much faster as we have thought earlier. So this is going to be definitely our future. And if I have to, really talk about how are we going to achieve all of this, is this only AI and ML? I don't think so. It has to be man, machine, technology, process, and legal authorities for sure. Because as I said, some countries they have privacy laws. Similarly, some other countries they will not allow us to, collect any evidences from that. So they have to be a legal provision available so that we can also get this evidences, and then we can investigate and then identify the root cause analysis and so on and so forth. So for this intelligent transformation, all of us have to really work hand in hand to ensure we have the best combination of the legalities, the forensics, and the machine, and for sure the man, which is the important element in everything. Yeah. So with that, I would like to really conclude my talk. And, I would also like to see if there are any questions. Yeah. Hello. Hello. Sumi?
Hello.
Yeah, Sumi.
Yes, Sailaja, this is Sushma here.
Yes, Sushma.
Yes, can you hear me and see me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Yes, and you can see me as well?
Yes.
All right, all right.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Yeah, Sushma. Yeah. Are
Yes,
there any questions?
yes. The first question is how can one guard the privacy of their data or company's confidential information when they are subjected to scrutiny by a digital forensics investigator?
Yeah, this is a wonderful question, as I meant, right? For example, before performing any forensic evidence or investigation, we have to follow the laws of the land. That is the
Right,
first important question,
right,
and then you cannot go beyond that. And generally, in case of cyber crimes, we have the laws available so that we can really go ahead and perform it. And in the end, the main utmost, agenda or the criteria is to identify the root cause for all of this. I say there are challenges. For example, I say like, okay, I know the law of my land and I can get all the information, even though there is data privacy law and so on and so forth. But on the other side, when you're going to some other jurisdiction, and then say in the context of cloud, if your data is somewhere else, and that really gets tricky. And normally, what people do is when they're signing the service level agreements, right? So they also mention this, and they also see to that, without compromising the privacy of their individuals, the data can be collected, because there are a lot of techniques as well, right? Anonymization, encryption, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
right. Thank you. And our next question is artificial intelligence is a boon for digital forensic investigation. However, it would lead to tampering of the existing configuration of systems. Would this be an issue?
Yeah, as I mentioned, right, for example, be it artificial intelligence or be it using any kind of tool, the admissibility of the data is really critical if you have to really submit this data in the law of court in the end. So you cannot tamper any data, but I believe what all tools that we have available here, they are not definitely going to tamper the data. The minute you tamper something, right, it is not going to be valid anymore, because
Right.
generally what happens, you just compare the original evidence with the evidence that you have collected, and when you say this is the root cause, both of them have to really match together. If that is not there, if there is any some kind of tampering that happened, if I also clearly mentioned in my talk about you have to really be able to submit the original content, and you cannot work. For example, now I am a digital forensics examiner. I have collected the information in one hard disk, right? Should I be working on that original hard disk? I don't think so. I need to have two, and then one I will keep it as is so that I present it in the as an proof, and the other one I will be using, I will be doing all my analytics on that, I'll be doing all my investigation examination on that. So one copy for sure, which is non-tampered one, has to be available for sure.
Right. Thank you. And that brings us to our last question, which is how can the forensic investigators ensure that the forensics evidence collected is admissible in the court of law?
Yeah, I think this is almost related to the previous one. So if you have to be, if the forensics examiner has to ensure data should not be tampered, the original one and the evidence has to be really the same. And generally, we have a lot of principles, right? Hashing and digital imaging are the techniques
Yes,
that are
yes.
used generally in the forensic investigation. So they just check the hash values. For example, you have the hard disk, and then I have copied this hard disk, right? And both the hash values has to be same. If there is any change in any of these hash values, then it is not going to be admissible in the court.
Right. All right, so I think that brings us to the end of the question and answer session, Sailaja. So thank you very much for bringing before us the wider scenario of how technology is evolving and what challenges cybersecurity professionals have ahead of them. Your presentation was absolutely enriching in the understanding of types of cyber crimes emerging every day. So we hope to keep learning from experts like you. So thank you very much, and we hope to see you in the future.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me. And I also wish you all the rest of the day. And I think there are a lot of wonderful speakers ahead of us. Looking
Yes, yes.
forward to listen from them.
Thank
Stay
you so
safe. And
much.
yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.